Resident Evil 4 had a bit of a rocky development. I know this is seemingly a random thing to start with, but bear with me, this will all circle back around. So, after the release of Resident Evil Code Veronica, Capcom was looking towards the PlayStation 2 as a system of choice for the next game in the franchise. Now, with the Nintendo GameCube being the platform which the game was released on, that evidently didn't work out well, but that only came later as a result of Capcom going through tremendous development pains when it came to this game. Starting in 1998, Shinji Mikami had asked Hideki Kamiya to return to the director's chair for this installment, to which he agreed, and work began on Biohazard 4. In the game, you controlled a character called Tony Redgrave. Redgrave evidently used to draw comparison to the Redfield family, who along with his twin brother Virgil, was the son of Oswald E. Spencer. The story of the game is going to be about unravelling the mysteries behind the Oswald family and how Tony was physically and mentally superior to the average human, taking place on Malay Island, the home to an Umbrella facility. Kamiya wanted the game to be stylish however, and this class of the Resident Evil series used a fixed camera angles, and so he moved to a dynamic camera system. This, along with the game's more heavy emphasis on action, purely through the use of more guns and Tony clearly not being your average human, led Shinji Mikami to feel the game strayed too far from its horror game roots and suggest it be branched off into its own franchise. Kamiya agreed and Biohazard 4 was cancelled, you could say. While Resident Evil 4 would go through more substantial changes before it saw the light of day, Kamiya went to work making changes to his iteration of the game, such as altering the enemies in this world from zombies to demons, introducing sword fighting into the mix, and changing Tony's name to Dante, in reference to the author of the Divine Comedy, and thus Biohazard 4 became Devil May Cry, and was released to the world in 2001. Now when it comes to this game, I could say that when I first played it as a kid, I hated it. It was difficult, the enemies were creepy, and the bosses wouldn't stop kicking my ass. And worst of all, if I lost to one of those things, I was placed all the way back at the beginning of the stage. I couldn't deal with it, and so after renting the game from Blockbuster one weekend, I returned the game and never looked back. So how am I reviewing the game today? How to get back into it, you ask? Well, it was Devil May Cry 2 that brought me back in. Now, I know, from my current tastes and perceptions, this game is pretty damn bad, and we'll look at it in further detail in the future, trust me. But for now, just know that the overall difficulty was lowered, which helped me substantially in getting past my initial hurdles. Of course, I fell back into getting my ass kicked with Devil May Cry 3 and its difficulty, but overall, I was willing to give the game more of a shot. Also helping with that was my buddy Danny Dante gameplay, who got an interest in the franchise with Devil May Cry 4 and made me see what I was missing out on all over again. So I went and bought all the games on PlayStation 2 and sat down to conquer this old childhood demon of mine, and promptly discovered I couldn't put the game down. Evidently what held me back before was no longer chaining me down now. Of course, we're not really here just to listen to me discuss my childhood thoughts on this game, so let's jump back in once again and see what was so great about it. Let's start with the plot. Millenniums ago, war broke out between the human and demon worlds led by Mundus, the Prince of Darkness. However, a demon by the name of Sparda rebelled against his brethren and sealed the path to the demon realm in order to save humanity from extinction. This led to the brave demon going down in history and becoming the legendary Dark Knight Sparda. We're then brought to the modern day of Devil May Cry as a mysterious woman descends onto a store called Devil May Cry, by the way of motorcycle. We're then first introduced to Dante, who promptly gets attacked by the pleasant lady, revealing herself to be a demon that wields electricity. However, when she attempts to finally kill Dante, he reveals that he too is a demon and the son of Sparda, though only part demon as his mother Ava was a human who became Sparda's wife after he settled down, having both him and a twin brother, but she was killed when Mundus sent demons to attack their home when Dante was a child. The demon then introduces herself as Trish and reveals that she has been sent to find a descendant of Sparda, as Mundus threatens to break the seal that Sparda cast to the demon world to once again wage war on humanity. She also reveals she's a dead ringer for Ava, further compelling Dante to help her. From there, the two set out to Malay Island with Dante wielding his father's sword, the Force Edge, which we'll come back to later, where Mundus is located. Trish then goes on ahead as Dante makes his way through the castle located on the island. As he traverses through the giant manor, he comes into contact with low-caste demons and multiple other hazards, along with getting impaled through the chest. He also comes into conflict with Mundus' generals, such as Phantom and Griffin, as well as the mysterious Nilo Angelo, who seem to have some kind of connection to the amulet Dante wears, and the ship boss fight known as Nightmare. He however bests the demons in combat, with Phantom getting impaled through a statue in the castle, and Mundus personally killing Griffin for failing in his attempt to kill Dante, which disgusts the young devil hunter. But at these points, Trish also shows that she has some ulterior motives for Dante as well. As we progress, we find that in order to confront Mundus, Dante must enter the demon world as he is still located in there, biding his time. In order to do this, however, he requires the Philosopher's Stone, which he must forge with the use of the Quicksilver, Philosopher's Egg, and the Elixir. He manages to do that, but not before finally killing Nilo Angelo, who after his final death leaves behind an identical amulet to Dante, revealing that he was none other than Dante's twin brother Virgil. With this, the two amulets reform, and the Force assumes its natural form, the Devil Sword Spada. Dante then ventures into the demon world where he again runs into Trish, but not before being attacked once again by Nightmare. It's here that Trish finally shows her true colours, as it turns out she was a demon created by Mundus to lure Dante here so that he could exact his revenge on the young demon, intentionally using his mother's image to draw him in. After Nightmare is killed for good and Trish is in trouble of getting crushed by falling debris, Dante still saves her however, but not without letting her know that it was only due to her looking like Ava, and he wouldn't be so kind the next time. Unfortunately though, Trish has joined the long list of demons failing Mundus, so he has to use as bait in order to keep Dante from attacking him when he finally confronts the Prince of Darkness. However, Trish then sacrifices herself in order to prevent Dante from being killed, which angers the Spada-infused halfling as he finally unlocks the power of the weapon he's wielding, prompting Mundus to shed his current look and assume his natural form, taking him and Dante to a convenient new dimension for a final battle. Dante promptly transforms himself for the ensuing clash, taking the form of his father, and defeats the Prince of Darkness in combat. After airing his regrets to Trish,
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light.
And leaving the Spada with her, Dante attempts to escape the island because as a result of Mundus' defeat, the passage was on pace to explode. However, when he's close to making his getaway, Mundus once again attacks Dante, this time continually shedding his armour and showing the glimpse of the horror underneath. However, with calming words from his mother and the help of Trish who survived their injuries, Dante manages to completely send Mundus back to the demon world for the time being, though not without the Dark Prince letting him know that someday he will return. However, hope looks lost as Dante and Trish are without options to escape from the Cumberland Castle until the plane we saw all the way back in Mission 2 falls through the ceiling, which they use in order to flee as the island goes up in purple flames. The day is won. Dante and Trish savour their victory, however Dante states that demons will always exist, before Trish says that he'll be there to fight them with her by his side. With a final phone call and Dante and Trish off to another job, we end the story of Devil May Cry. Overall, the plot is relatively bare bones. There isn't much to it besides Mundus is a bad guy that has to be stopped. Sure, Dante's mother was killed by him, but he doesn't really dwell on it that hard outside the moments with Trish and the final confrontation with Mundus. However, there are glimpses of further storytelling that could have been expanded upon in future games, with things such as Dante's brother Virgil. What was he like? How had he fallen with Mundus? This would be expanded upon in Devil May Cry 3, but it's a nice little tantalising piece of information. Also, one thing the game series never expands upon is the whereabouts of Spada himself. We know that he's not around, but his fate is never touched upon fully, leaving you with a sense of wonder. The characters are also fairly standard, though Dante is a different type of hero. Unlike most video game protagonists where they're unsure and learning throughout the game, gaining more confidence and heroism as they go, Dante knows from the start that he's the shit. I mean, if you got stabbed by a sword, would you proceed to carry it around with you for the rest of the game? He's wisecracking, he's rarely taking things seriously, and I'll admit, even today it's pretty refreshing. Also, while it is only the end of the game, it's very clear to see that for Resident Evil 4, Capcom really wanted that exploding island sequence, as this is nearly wholesale the same thing but with a plane instead of a jet ski. But ending sequence alone, it's not hard to see what game series this was originally bred from, as we played Devil May Cry. In fact, the first mission of the game is explicitly fixed camera angles where your only goal is to find enough red orbs to get through this door to ease you in to the changes that are going to come through the next mission. Speaking of orbs, this game defines nearly all items by orbs, with red orbs giving you currency for the shop, green orbs refilling health, blue orbs giving you permanent health increases, white orbs refilling your devil trigger, and purple orbs giving you devil trigger increases, while there are things to buy in the shops as well, such as vital stars that can give you health back when you require it. Basic movement in this game is akin to a traditional third-person video game, however Dante also has a jump that allows him to reach higher areas. Also, if you jump against a wall, he'll jump off it for a further boost in height. However, a high jump isn't what Dante needs to defeat demons, and man, oh man, are there a lot of demons in this game. From puppets to ice demons, ones that float and hide in walls with giant scissors, the shadows which are basically shape-shifting jaguars, fuck those ones in particular. The enemy design in this game always seeks to make sure you're being challenged to use a different tactic each fight. Unlike later games though, you're rarely being swarmed by different enemies, meaning you don't risk being overwhelmed, which I can be grateful for. Despite that, however, the large variety of enemies thrown at our hero isn't a big issue for Dante, as he is in possession of a large repertoire of moves that he can use to dish out the pain on demons, with ones that allow you to get up close and personal with things such as swords and gauntlets. While the weapon variety would be substantially turned up in future installments, the Force Edge, Alistair and Ifrit weapons are all satisfying ways of providing damage, with heartening animations and sound effects for them all. Not only that, but you can also further upgrade these weapons through the shop to perform more special moves tied to them, such as the now famous Stinger, which is a driving forward stab motion, giving you more at your disposal. However, when it comes to variety, the firearms in this game are the clear winner, with dual wielding pistols, a shotgun, a grenade launcher, a harpoon shooter that's only used underwater, and the Nightmare gun, which I didn't get for my playthrough. The range game has never been better. I mean, while I found Ebony and Ivory enjoyable, the second I got both the shotgun and grenade launcher, I never really looked back on it. The shotgun was a great tool to get high bounce of damage on enemies and bosses, and the grenade launcher, I mean god damn, sure it's a little slower than the shotgun, but it can travel way further and produce even more massive amounts of damage. It became my main projectile weapon the moment I got it. The guns are clearly meant for the sake of combo extensions in this game, however, as Devil May Cry's biggest innovation for the genre was a rating system for whenever you pulled off enough variation in combat. The more moves you pull off and experiment with, the more game gives you score for your combat rating. Once you finish a level, it's all then tallied up to give you a ranking score, giving you motivation to find the craziest combos you can. And sure, while it doesn't get as flashy as later games in the Devil May Cry series, especially in regards to Dante himself, who basically becomes a wrecking ball of death, it always feels satisfying to watch the bar go up. So, when you're next fighting that puppet, try to launch it into the air, slamming it down and giving it a stinger. The game will reward it in score. Just don't only do that. Also helping is the Devil Trigger. After your first encounter with Alistair, you might notice this bar underneath your health. Well, if you press the appropriate button, Dante then turns into his Devil Trigger form. This gives you increased mobility, more damage and a slight recharge of your health while it's activated. You can use this how you desire. Do you want to use it as a way to clutch out some extra damage on your combo, or use it as a method to maybe survive death with your health getting replenished? It's up to you, but watch out, this is limited to how much you have in your bar at the time you activate. Stage design is also another clear area where the Resident Evil roots come from. The Malay Island castle is large and imposing with lots of gothic scenery adjoining every area of the map, with an outer gardens, a cathedral, a coliseum, a surrounding castle, a fucking pirate ship which you have to play through with slightly off swimming controls, and of course a demon world, all being areas you'll explore and battle your way through over the course of the game. Not to mention, the game also brings puzzles into the mix as well, where you'll be required to find locks to multiple different doors, or time puzzles where failure can result in death, smacking fireballs back at skeleton dinosaurs. The game honestly has a good variety to keep you on your toes. I'll say now though that the brief bouts of platforming weren't particularly my forte. Dante jumps, while high, don't leave him with a ton of control whilst doing so nearly every time I was forced into some platform with small landing areas, I usually found myself plummeting down below. Boss fights, I mean, what can I say? These guys are the ultimate test for your abilities in the stage, bringing a good balance of challenge and fun factor. Phantom is the starter boss, but even then, he's clearly not made to be taken lightly, as when you fight him in the game, any type of mistake can lead to death, which leads me to a big point about the difficulty in this game. When you're killed, you're not placed at a checkpoint unless you have corridors which do perform those things. You're thrown all the way back to the beginning of the stage, giving you a nice sense of tension for every encounter. However, to touch upon what I said earlier, my least favourite boss fights are the encounters with Nightmare. It's got a unique gimmick that you have to hit these switches on both sides of the stage to deal damage to it, but it's more of a visual mess of projectile attacks and light effects that kinda put me off fighting him. Not to mention when he's in this big puddle of goop, if you're caught in it, you're thrown into a mini encounter with another boss before you're allowed to leave. Sure, it does a hefty amount of damage, but it's just too much going on here. And fuck the last battle with Mundus. Not due to the final part where you're fighting him on platforms that he can destroy, and that is a challenging, enjoyable portion of the battle, but when you're fighting him in the Sparta form. It's an on-rails flight sequence, but it's so hard and swift of a gameplay shift that punishes you so hard for any type of mistake while you're learning it, it infuriates me, as you need to shoot the orbs around him to break his shield before you can even do damage to him, with a Devil Trigger bursting through it by default. Sure, with enough practice it becomes pretty easy to deal with, but it shouldn't just be tossed at you with no warning. But you know what else is pretty easy? The soundtrack on my ears. Lame segue, I know. Which is pretty great, with shoutouts such as Nilo Angelo's fights with Ultraviolet, but honestly, all the boss battle themes are pretty amazing. I love them. When it comes to other points though, you're greeted with a singular battle theme for enemy encounters, with very simple songs for traversing the stage, or just silence. Overall, Devil May Cry was an amazing time.
The game basically brought a new version of hack and slash game to the market in form of stylish action to differentiate itself from other classics such as Ninja Gaiden. It also led, of course, to a wide variety of sequels and the birth of a franchise which we'll be diving into. I mean, the fact the footage I used from this game was from my live stream and it was all done in a single sitting should be a testament to how much I think of this game. And yes, while the gameplay is certainly a far cry from later entries, the game still stands up there with them due to the unique properties of its ties back to Resident Evil. So, please, I implore you, if you tried any other Devil May Cry game, go back and give this a shot. It's available on PC and current gen consoles in the Devil May Cry collection, or hey, pick up a PS2 copy if you want to keep it traditional.
So hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you liked what you saw, give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike, of course. If you are interested in seeing where I get my gameplay from, be sure to check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/manlikethesarge. Also, be sure to check out my buddy Dandy Dante Gameplay, who did help me somewhat in making this review. And yeah, that's all I've really got. But I hope you guys enjoy what I'm pumping out. We will be back with another review soon, and we'll see you all later.